Hey everybody, welcome back to A Slightly Twisted Female. I am your host, Brittany Rue. I have spent time writing an essay on beauty practices and feminism, and I just wanted to jump right into it. I have to leave for Maryland to go pick up my son from camp, and I really do want to make this into a full video that's edited and that's a good presentation. Took me a while to write the essay, and I really have limited time. I know I'm not going to be able to get it done over the weekend, and then Monday I'm streaming with my girlfriend who lives with me, so I'm just going to read the rough draft of my essay, and I'm just going to jump right into it because I have to leave. So again, you don't have to agree with me, you don't have to whatever, but here is my essay on beauty practices, femininity, makeup, etc., and feminism. Makeup as a reflexive compulsion. Hold on. I still want to be able to see what you guys are. Let me try to move this. Alright. Okay, so alright. The first half of the video is about makeup as a reflexive compulsion. First and second wave feminism in America were massively successful civil rights campaigns for the procurement of a multitude of rights and privileges for women in the United States. These feminist movements, which organized firstly around the fight for women's suffrage or women's right to vote in the 18th century, both inspired and were inspired by similar feminist action happening in other places the world over. Since the initial movements, women have progressively increased their socioeconomic status as well as their status in law, culture, and society, becoming not only equal under the law but also securing additional rights that meet the unique needs of women, such as a woman's right to access an abortion, once granted at a federal level, but has since been relegated to Confederate regulation at the state level. In 1990, American feminist author Naomi Wolf published a non-fiction critical novel entitled The Beauty Myth: How Images of Beauty Are Used Against Women. In her work, Naomi offers a well-argued critical analysis of the culture and commodification of beauty and the impacts that this has had on the lives of women, both on the individual and class levels. From here on, I will use Naomi's first name instead of her last name when referencing her in the spirit of feminism to avoid using her patrilineal name or the one that she acquired from her father. In her book, Naomi argues that despite all the feminist progress that we have achieved since the advent of American feminism, there has been a corresponding force which grows counter to our progress and works to prevent women from fully actualizing as free and sovereign through various complex social, psychological, economic, and sociological means. This force can be described as an aggressive push of multiple complex industries conspiring together to infiltrate and play off the insecurities of women, to profit from their historical oppression and place of subservience, their pressure to conform to heteronormativity, to please and to succeed in their grand entrance into the public sphere that was a public sphere that was created for hundreds of years by men for men. According to makeup critical theory, there has been an aggressive push of the beauty industry to play upon the insecurities of women to make them feel just out of reach of good enough, and that by purchasing beauty products, one can begin to buy herself closer to an ideal that, no matter how hard a woman tries, she can never quite close in on because the goalposts are always moving. A marketing campaign that tells her that she is never quite good enough, and as such, the beauty industry imposes itself as a means by which women can buy back some self-esteem that the industry itself has stolen from women. The basic premise is this. By chipping away at a woman's self-esteem, by artificially constructing notions of beauty that are, by design, as I said, out of reach of every woman on the planet, and then making women aware of these ideals and, in conjunction, aware of their own flaws that they never knew existed prior, the beauty industry can dangle a carrot in the form of cosmetics in front of women that tells them, but here, if you just give us your money, you can finally begin to purchase back some of the self-esteem that we have stolen. Just wear this, just use this. In other words, first we will rob you, and then we'll offer you the chance to buy back. It is a form of relativist marketing. The premise of relativist marketing is this. It is a predatory marketing strategy that targets people who are happy with what they have, or at least content, and unaware that they should feel anything to the contrary. It works by taking these content people and disrupts their contentment by intruding upon their psyche to make them aware of someone that has something more, something they position as better. By doing so, you've now created within that previously content person a sense of deep dissatisfaction or insecure self-awareness that didn't exist before, and that synthesizes a sense of anxiety about the person that they aren't where they need to be. This is because while taken in isolation, the person felt adequate about themselves, but now put relative to another person who seemingly possesses something superior, they now appear to have less by comparison. Juxtaposing this image of a woman who is better engenders in the individual a sense of frustration, discontentment, jealousy, insecurity, and now where there was once peace, there is now a want. This phenomenon of relativism is partly why cities are particularly dangerous and hostile in ways that uniformly poor areas are not. Because when you have people living in poor conditions and then you place them in close proximity to people who have a lot of wealth, there is an obvious stark contrast that is visible and clear of people living within different socioeconomic strata. Through self-comparison, the people with less will become frustrated and disgruntled, and it actually works to perpetuate a level of criminality and violence that may not have otherwise happened if the juxtaposition of wealth against lack of wealth had not happened. People want what they realize the other has. The same is true with beauty. Thus, in our analysis of makeup as feminists, it is important to take a multi-layered critical approach that looks at makeup in several contexts. First, the obsessive, compulsive, and uncritical consumption fueled by an artificially imposed anxiety that is rooted in consumerism. Next, we need to look at the health, hygiene, and well-being of using products and engaging in beauty rituals. Next, we need to look at, from a evolutionary psychological perspective or evolutionary psychology perspective, sexual dimorphism, self-esteem theory, sexual signaling, and sexual strategy within the sexual market. The next is group affiliation, status, and personal messaging. And lastly, adornment and artistic expression. Firstly, in terms of reflexive obsessive compulsion, makeup in the practice of beauty and performative femininity is the result of uncritical consumption fueled by an existential, unrelenting anxiety that informs women that their inherent worth and dignity is connected to their consumability by not only men, but by society at large. This is promoted and aggravated by post-capitalist consumerism in Western society that seeks first and foremost to serve the market, that is found playing off the wounds of patriarchy as a lucrative strategy to profit off women and their newfound wealth, and to a lesser extent to profit off of gay men. Capitalism has not... The free market has no inherent morals or values. It is in and of itself a neutral system. The free market responds and reflects to the true values and priorities of the consumers, although not necessarily the ones that they consciously espouse, but rather the ones that they actually practice in their consuming patterns, the ones that they prioritize even if unconsciously, because we are only very newly freed from the actual system of institutionalized patriarchy in which women were unequal under the law. Our collective unconscious is very much tied into the patriarchal programming that may take generations to undo, even under the best circumstances. And under patriarchy, women were de facto property, perhaps even chattel slaves. And the strategies of the beauty industry under capitalism play off that trope and reminds women of the male sexual appetite for women's bodies that is omnipresent in their lives. In this view, the woman becomes the consumer good itself, meant to satiate the male sexual appetite. She is the thing to be consumed by a man, and like any other consumer good, she must strive to be the most attractive and bring the best marketing strategy to bring a man to consume her. By constructing an artificial beauty ideal and by making that ideal impossible to achieve, because again, it is altered in many ways by things like digital alteration, surgical alteration, lighting, airbrushing, more things that don't exist in reality. The ideal that is created is one that is inherently unattainable, because even the model who is being used doesn't even look like that or exist as that in real life. She has been artificially altered. There is no way to achieve this ideal. It is a marketing campaign. Therefore, by putting the beauty ideal just out of reach, women are stuck consistently striving to reach something that they can never touch. Part of the strategy to keep women anxious and to keep them consuming more and more beauty goods is to continuously move the goalposts for beauty. They do this by introducing a new style every season, by constantly changing the fashion, by changing the ideal. That way, as women finally get closer to their goal, they are reminded that they can't get comfortable because the posts have already moved and she must deconstruct and start again, buy their products and rebuild. This extends from seasonal trends in clothing all the way to body types, even skin tones, hair textures, height preferences, and more. We had the tiny waists of the Victorian era and their counterpart corset, which caused debilitating changes in the internal structure of the organs and the rib cage. The heroin chic anorexic look of the 1990s that ushered in a wave of anorexia and bulimia, and even the pro-Ana and pro-Mia subculture that started on Tumblr. The skin lightening obsession of Western African women in the West Indies that saw dark-skinned black women treating their skin with bleaching creams and soaps, hoping to achieve a lighter color. We don't even know the long-term impacts of those. The big breast craze brought in by Pamela Anderson of the late 90s, and breast implants that brought with them silicone poisoning epidemic that caused breast implants to be illegal and off the market for a time until they could reformulate them to be not as dangerous. The big butts of the 2010s with women like Nicki Minaj and Cardi B that led to a boom in the single most dangerous popular cosmetic procedure on the market, the Brazilian butt lift, or the BBL, that led to deaths both on the surgeon's table due to pulmonary embolism, where fat gets into the bloodstream, goes to the heart, and kills the woman within moments, or in back alleys where unlicensed beauticians injected women with silicone concoctions that led to necrosis, disability, and death. The tiny feet of Eastern China that led to women binding their feet and being stuck with lifelong disabilities that rendered them unable to walk or stand. Kylie Jenner's lips that led to women getting fillers and also doing the Kylie Jenner challenge that damaged their lips. The lace front craze that led to a hair industry that saw the heads of young women and girls in places like South India being nearly scalped for their hair in the third world, lipstick that saw whales slaughtered for their blubber, and finally the androgyny of the 2020s that led to the transgender medicalization crisis that we are dealing with now, and so much more. So many of the most vicious pathologies of beauty have been artificially constructed through a tactic of marketing that is meant to permeate the person's self-awareness and flood the person's psyche with messaging that causes one to become obsessively self-aware. Whether they want to experience and take in these messages or not, they are simply inundated with them through all means, medium, and modus. And the images typically depict the woman as the consumer good to be consumed. As I said, she must style herself for consumption. All right, and here's the part where I didn't edit as well. I need to go back and edit, so if it's a little choppy, just bear with me. The beauty industry is worth $430 billion. Naomi Wolf, again, author of The Beauty Myth, points out that the top CEOs of the top beauty companies are all white old men. And thus, by artificially creating a deficit in a woman's self-esteem, these men can dangle the hopes of romance, marriage, and partnership with a man, something that they borrow from the other industries who have already primed women since childhood to long for these things, such as Disney princess movies that teaches girls that their highest calling is to find a husband who will come and save her and live happily ever after. That they can dangle the hope of romance in front of women and send a message that all of this can be yours if only you were just a little more beautiful. You're slightly too ugly to achieve these things now, but don't worry. You're slightly too ugly to achieve these things now, thus creating the anxiety. But don't worry, we can help you get them, which is relieving the anxiety through making a purchase and consuming a good, and thus the cycle repeats. Even worse, the liberal media has praised the appointment of a woman as CEO of City Inc., the 6th largest beauty company on the planet. That's great. A woman is a CEO of the 6th largest beauty industry company in the world. I mean, that's progress, girls. That's progress, guys. Amazing. Except for the fact that it's a trans-identifying male. Yes, even a Tim accessed one of the top Fortune 500 companies in the top 6 before a woman. Of course, once the makeup wears off, the woman is reminded of her inherent ugliness that she's already been told that she has. And so while she dons a mask, she lives with the constant awareness that the beauty she presents with is not actually her true beauty. And this creates yet another anxiety. She knows she's a fraud, and this weighs on her heavily. It keeps her from fully opening up to her partner that she acquired through ill-begotten gains, the trickery of makeup. And she feels ashamed because she knows it's not truly herself that he desired. So she buys more and more so she can always put on her face, and even avoids activities that she used to previously enjoy that could jeopardize her face sweating off, like exercise or swimming or really enjoying life with her partner, literally doing anything. Plus, makeups have microplastics, dyes, and pigments that are carcinogenic, or that are unsanitary at best and carcinogenic at worst. Imagine putting something on your skin every day and then putting the brush back in. Think of germs. It's gross. Linda Scott, professor of women's studies, argues, however, that it is time for feminism to finally begin to loosen its hardcore grip on anti-beauty ideology in its theory, and here's why. Scott points out that people in every culture throughout history have groomed and decorated themselves for a complex variety of reasons, not simply for sexual attraction. If feminists insist on a, quote, natural appearance, then the irony is that the human tendency to alter one's appearance is so rooted in our nature, and to use outward adornment to communicate things about oneself is a part of that nature that feminists seek to restore. Additionally, Scott says it has divided women so much in feminist circles that it is, and it has divided women so much more than it has actually aided their cause. That if it functions to divide women more than anything else, then it's time to reevaluate beauty as a feminist agenda. Linda says that the issue of personal appearance has been used repeatedly as an instrument of power and control within the women's movement, reinforcing biases of class, education, and ethnicity. Scott wrote, in every generation, the woman with more education, more leisure, and more connections to institutions of power, from the church to the press to the university, have been the ones to try to tell other women what they must wear in order to achieve liberation. However, criticisms of female beauty practices did not begin with the radical branch of feminism. The founders of the first wave feminist movement in the United States, which included Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, were rooted in upper-class Protestant Puritan tradition that strongly influenced their attitude about dress and personal appearance. Early American settlers were Protestants who departed from the Catholic Church of England to pursue Puritan lifestyle in the New World and practice religion as they saw fit. Puritan Protestantism, which is rooted in Calvinism, saw the elaborate parochial art of the Catholic Church and the papal tradition as a form of idolatry. That from the elaborate cathedrals of the Middle Ages to the stained glass technique of the art in churches to the elaborate paintings commissioned by the Pope, including the Sistine Chapel of Michelangelo, to the beautifully sculpted crucifixes of Jesus hanging above the altar. The Catholic Church was rife with religious imagery and beautiful religious artwork. Protestants who protested the Catholic Church, hence the term Protestant, saw it as a form of idol worship, idolatry, and that by worshiping at this art, even if it's meant to stand in place of God or Jesus, that they were literally worshiping the art and statues rather than God himself, and that we needed to remove all intermediaries between the worshiper and God. Hence why they were eager to colonize the New World so that they could depart from the Catholic Church and practice according to their own Puritan model of Protestantism. Again, departed from Catholicism, which is... So if you look at Catholicism, look at all the old Catholic artwork. It is so rooted in art. Some of the greatest works of art on the planet and in history were commissioned by the Catholic Church. The great surviving cathedrals were commissioned by the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church has always used really profound, complex, rich artworks and art forms as part of their worship and tradition and things like that. And again, Protestants really believed that these were serving as an intermediary between the person and Christ and God, and that there should be no intermediary. And it was the same even in terms of the hierarchy. So when they colonized the New World and the Pilgrims were Puritan Protestants, the churches, if you look at Protestant churches, are very simple, structurally very simple, no artwork, very plain dress. Again, when we think of pilgrims, you think of very plain dress. When you think of even during the witch burnings and things like that, that sort of religious fanaticism, very plain, non-ornate dress and styling, no jewelry, nothing elaborate, no artwork, things like that. Therefore, these early feminists of the first wave were strongly influenced by their own Puritan roots and these Puritan ideals of their families from which they came. And like in their Puritan upbringing, this was seen as a higher form of sophistication, being closer to God, being more pure, being of higher intellect, class, respectability, politics, and more. Quote, in their calls for simplicity of dress, Linda wrote, they were echoing years of conservative tradition in their own feminist community rather than actually making groundbreaking critique as they often claimed. Which is interesting because the feminists who do talk about beauty critique act as if it's like earth-shattering. So, and as if it's of core importance to the feminist movement. And I've literally heard saying that it is the most core feminist act. And if you can't overcome this one thing, which is to cease participating in self-ornamentation, self-beautification, then you cannot even gain entrance into feminism or an identity as a feminist. Is anyone in here? How is my... Oh, shit. Oh, God, I didn't even realize that the chat was going on. I didn't see it. My bad. Sorry. I was like, is no one in here? Okay, my bad. Oops, that's good. Glad you guys are here. I had to, like, click it for all this stuff to come up. Damn. Okay, anyway. Where am I? Okay. All right, so like I said, since then, this conservative tradition has embedded itself in feminist politics. Oh, wait, hold on. Therefore, these early feminists of the first wave were strongly influenced by these Puritan ideals of dress, and like their Puritan upbringing, this was seen as a higher, more elite form of sophistication, intellect, class, respectability, politics, and more. Quote, in their calls for simplicity of dress, they were echoing years of conservative tradition in their own feminist community, unconsciously, rather than making the groundbreaking critique that they often claim that it was, she wrote. Since then, this conservative tradition has embedded itself in feminist politics, often without much rebuttal or challenge, because I don't think most women even have one, because it seems so core. As Scott documents in her book, the plain and prim dress of Puritanism has been passed down through the generations of feminists, justified in different ways by successive feminist groups who always thought themselves to be the true feminists. According to Scott, the Puritan style of dress is introduced to feminism by its upper-class initiates. She says, quote, consistently, feminist criticism will interpret consistently, feminist criticism will interpret an advertisement or a film or fashion until it can be shown to be a temptation aimed at the male gaze, and then it stops. That's as far as it goes. The implication is that a dress or a picture or a hairstyle is interpreted as sexy, which of course anything can be interpreted as sexy, as imposed by the viewer onto the subject rather than created by the subject itself. It is ipso facto oppressive, according to this style of feminism. Let's see. Hold on. Oh, Mac, don't worry. That was just the first half. There's more. Let's see. Yeah, the feminists claim that is ipso facto oppressive. So anything that can possibly be seen as attractive to men is the ultimate, as feminists claim, oppression of women. Linda discusses the stories of countless women in her work of countless women throughout history and time who have been truly significant to the feminist cause, who have constructed the movement, who have largely influenced and who have been largely influential in many fields for women's liberation, who have dedicated their lives to women's liberation and feminist causes, but whose work has been largely ignored or even totally forgotten by feminist discourse and feminist history because of their attitudes, dress, sexuality, or other related topics that didn't quite fit in with the uniformity of feminist prescriptions, which is heavy. Because she's saying that women who've worked, that's literally been my experience. I've literally been told, despite having dedicated my entire life to taking care of women, again, I've delivered over 100 babies myself, and that's not even how many births I've been to. I've taken care of women from here to the Philippines, up and down the Northeast. I fought for legislation. Even before I was involved in this movement, I fought for legislation to ban the practice of shackling women in labor. And I've literally been told that I am not, full stop, a feminist, that I am not a feminist, and I cannot be a feminist because I wear makeup. So my entire legacy, everything I've created, everything I've sacrificed, I have, hold on, let me finish, because that really hit me when I saw that. And I said, it's unreal, because as I was reading this thought has literally crossed my mind, and it has. I've literally sat there and thought, what if my work goes erased and goes totally unaccounted for because I chose to wear makeup, because of my sexuality, because of the way that I present myself? How is that feminism? I've built spaces for women. I've served women. I have skipped holidays and birthdays to be beside with women. Do you know that I missed my son's 3rd birthday party? And I mean, I had a ton of family and friends. I had people drive in from other states for this huge birthday party that I had spent, weeks preparing for. And on the morning of the party, my client went into labor. I had a backup doula. This is before I was actually into midwifery. I had a backup doula. Did I call her? No, because I was the one who had a relationship with that woman, and I know that she really needed me there. I missed my son's birthday party to go sit with her all into the night and be with her until she delivered the baby, and I stayed with her till they breastfed and latched, and I came 2 days later. I missed everything. I've missed Christmas Eve before. I missed 4th of July before. I've missed events. I've missed so many different holidays and things so that I could honor my commitment to women that I was serving and be there for their births. I've been serving women my entire life, and I fucking had, again, the Mary Jane RX, I'm just going to call you the fuck out. You have come on to my channel so many times to point blank tell me that I am not a feminist and to scold me for my appearance, scold me for what I'm wearing, scold me for my sexuality. How fucking dare you? And apparently it's not just me. Apparently this is a feminist tradition to discount the work of different women because they don't fit, they're not wearing the feminist uniform. Because that's what it is. It's a uniform. In The Beauty Myth, Naomi Wolf points out that men own the majority of top beauty industries, but what she has failed to take into account was the operational influence and locus of control that women had actually had in making product development decisions. According to Scott, in her book called Fresh Lipstick, she was taken aback just by how much women, though representing only 1/3 of those in a position of power in the beauty industry, actually dominated the overwhelming majority of decisions when it came to product development and design in the beauty industry. That men's positions typically had more so to do with operations and marketing and finance. But in terms of the actual product and actual styles, that women were the ones in control. Again, this is after she did like a really deep investigative analysis of these industries. That males' positions, although, higher paid, typically did so because of their ability and their experience with marketing and running a business. Again, we've only been involved in corporate America for a relatively short amount of time as women. However, again, as Scott says, it was women who were actually making decisions when it comes to the styles and products that were marketed to the consumer. In fact, upon deeper investigation, I myself found names like Paula Begone, a woman out of Seattle who created two powerful beauty brands that have shaken up the beauty market. The first being an archive called Paula's Choice. Through research, scientific inquiry, investigative journalism, and the analysis not just of brands but the products themselves, Paula has created a service that provides truth and transparency about the beauty industry. It is basically an archive where you can look up different products and they will let you know what's in them, if they're safe, and help break it down so that women can make informed decisions about what kind of products that they're putting on their bodies, which ones are dangerous and which ones are potentially fine. They research products and brands and provide consumers with information that allows women to make informed decisions about products that they use. They scrutinize the safety and ethics of countless beauty products. Additionally, Paula created a woman-owned ethical beauty supply company that manufactures safe and ethical beauty products, makeup, and cosmetics. Paula sold her company. Come on, sorry, my boyfriend keeps calling me and he knows I'm on a stream. Paula sold her company for $70 million to a private equity firm like a year or two ago, but she still remains a private equity shareholder and the face of the company and remains committed to its mission of, again, bringing truth and transparency to the beauty industry. Additionally, there are other women who are forging a way into the market and transforming the industry through something that they call clean beauty, products predicated on transparency, natural and safe ingredients which are ethically sourced, do not risk the health of women, and that center women in all of its operations. There's Julia Addo, founder and CEO of Adwa Beauty. She is an African-born woman who moved to the U.S. at the age of 2. All of the formulas in her cosmetics are non-toxic and cater to a range of hair textures, including Black women and mixed styles. Karen Benke, founder of Juice Beauty, specializes in antioxidant-rich beauty products that actually benefit the skin and plant-based makeup without synthetic ingredients. You have Melissa Butler, founder and CEO of The Lip Bar. All products are vegan and cruelty-free. It is currently being sold in 500-plus Target stores and on Target online. There's Christine Change and Sarah Lee, 2 women who are co-founders and co-CEOs of Glow Recipe. The founders are from South Korea, and they use natural skincare innovations to create healthy and safe products. April Garguilo, sorry, it's like a Italian name. Garguilo, sorry, April. Founder and CEO of Vintner's Daughter. April is a pioneer in using whole plants in its formulas without extracts or synthetics. In fact, the brand's 2 main products work together to address a multitude of skin health needs. Social and environmental responsibility is reinfused in every aspect of the business. In every aspect of their business, and 2% of all revenue is donated to charities benefiting women, children, and the environment. And there are many more examples that I saw and I just skipped. So now there is a movement of women lending their intelligence, expertise to build, fund, direct, and benefit from this industry on all ends. Next, I want to look at makeup as a strategy. Sexual signaling is an ancient part of not only human nature, but is a feature of virtually every sexual dimorphic species. In birds, we see the reverse of what we see in humans. It's that the male who is the more beautiful of the species. He has evolved to have elaborate, exotic, beautiful, colorful plumage that he displays in a grand entrance in order to attract a female mate. He even performs masculinity, in which he prances around beautifully, walking to and fro, trying to catch the eye of a potential female partner. In humans, it is the female who is the more beautiful of the species. And again, I'm talking about beautiful even on like a mathematical equation. Beauty does have actual, like, there's, yes, it's in the eye of the beholder, but there is beauty that has, if you look at like the golden ratio, that has an actual mathematical foundation to it. That beauty that is, universal. So again, in humans, it is the female who is the more beautiful of the species and who attracts attention through her appearance, even without the aid of beauty rituals. I suspect that this has something to do with our remarkably long immaturity period in human babies. In no other species do we see young baby, or the young, be helpless for as long as we see in human babies. It's remarkable, really, that it takes 18 to 25 years for a human being to fully mature, first physically and then neurologically. Again, the prefrontal cortex is not fully developed until 25. Human children have an incredibly long gestational period, an average of 40 weeks, followed by an incredibly long immaturity period. Therefore, the woman knows that she will be deeply vulnerable. Again, this is looking at from an evolutionary psychology perspective. Here, I'm just so I don't keep, hold on, sorry. I'm trying to make it so that the chat can keep playing. Okay, what happened? All right, what's going on with the chat? Oh, damn it. Sorry. Again, it's remarkable, really, that it takes 18 to 25 years to be fully mature. First physically and then neurologically. Human children have an incredibly long gestational period, an average of 40 weeks, followed by an incredibly long time of pregnancy and childbirth, breastfeeding, and during early parenthood. And just like any other social animal, social support is absolutely essential to survival. That's why it hurts so much when you hear someone's talking about you, or that's why being like in the out group is so devastating and it causes people to kill themselves, because again, it's an evolutionary adaptation that if we were ever pushed out of the in group, that could kill us. That could mean death. We rely on social systems to survive. Earlier, more so rather than, what happened to this? Why is my chat doing that? Sorry, guys. Let's see what's going on. Let me see. I might have to add one more chat window. God, I gotta hurry up and get through this because I gotta leave in a minute. Window capture. Okay. Let's see. Chat. Come on, man. Damn. Why is it doing that? Dogs. Chat, let's turn it off. Turn it back on. Fuck. Why? Dogs. Chat. I don't know why my chat is like not up right now. I'm just gonna have to turn it off. Oh, here we go. Sweet. Cool. Alright, sorry guys. For fuck's sake. Now okay, it's okay. Come on. Sorry. Let me fix this. Why are you doing this to me, you piece of dog shit computer? Here we go. Sorry, guys. Hey, Bella Antoinette. Alright, cool. That's better. Alright, where was I? Okay. All right, so anyway, again, it is humans. In humans, it is the female who is the more beautiful of the species and who attracts attention through her appearance, even without the aid of beauty rituals. And here's why I think this is significant. Again, I think it has to do with our long immaturity periods. And because of our long immaturity periods, there's a long period of time in which the woman is going to be vulnerable. And again, we are social creatures and we absolutely depend on social relationships for survival, including romantic ones, including, yes, ones with men, my patriarchy. Sorry, I don't mean to be dismissive. I understand it's all real. Anyway, therefore, the woman knows that she will be deeply vulnerable during the time of pregnancy and childbirth, breastfeeding, and during early parenthood. And unlike just like any other social animal, social support is absolutely critical to survival. Because women can have a limited amount of offspring, it is essential that she chooses a partner of high genetic quality with whom to mate. And because it is in her best interest that the partner be willing to commit to sticking with her and protecting and providing for her while she is unable to protect and provide for herself because of the vulnerable state of that pregnancy, that pregnancy, childbirth, and child rearing places her in. It is important then that she has the means to entice a male partner who is willing and motivated to invest his time, energy, effort, and resources over the long term to her and their offspring, and to share his resources with them. Thus, the ecstasy of sex provides a much needed reprieve to both the male and the female during times of great stress while parenting. I think that's why we still have sex even when we are infertile, or even while the woman's pregnant. It's part of partner bonding. But because the mother is so chemically tied to her infant through a complex system of endocrinological bonding that occurs during pregnancy, childbirth, and pheromonal bonding, skin-to-skin touch, breastfeeding, and more, she doesn't need all the additional layers of bonding to her baby. Thus, the bonding with men to their female partner does not happen right away, and it's important that we understand that. Whereas with women, bonding begins with the first sexual encounter. This is actually why women should wait a minimum of 3 months of spending time with and bonding with a man, because it takes a man about 3 months to begin chemically bonding with a woman, whereas a woman begins to bond at the first sexual encounter. So if a woman has sex with a man right away, she is now chemically bonding to him in a way that he's not chemically bonding to her. However, if they spend time over time, eventually he will begin chemically bonding to her, and they'll both be chemically bonding to each other. And then so once sex happens, it chemically bonds for both of them, not just one person over the other. That's why we see so much despair in women who give themselves too early to men, because now they're, again, and this is a physiological fact. This isn't just me making it up. This stuff happens at an endocrinological level. So again, the bonding with men to their female partner does not happen right away, whereas with women, bonding begins with their first sexual encounter. And this is to motivate, and the reason for this disparity is to motivate the woman to stay connected with the man in case a conception occurred during that sexual encounter. It wouldn't make sense on an evolutionary level if a woman slept with a man, had no motivation to, continue to have anything to do with him, and then finds out a month later, oh my God, I'm actually pregnant with him. Wait, I lost track of him. No, it's important that she has sex with him. Bonding starts to occur, and it influences her behavior to remain connected to him in some sort of way. And then she finds out, a month later, oh wow, a conception happened. It's all good because I've been hanging out with him the whole time, because I've had this bonding mechanism that's been happening. From the male perspective, not bonding with the female right away keeps him from wasting precious resources on a partner that does not actually end up needing them. Hence, if she doesn't get pregnant and conception doesn't happen. However, men don't stay this way. On average, it takes about 3 months of being together for a man to activate his hormonal bonding and even start to feel feelings of love towards a woman. I believe that during this time, additional layers of attraction are used to keep men coming back, to buffer that 3 months while chemical bonding isn't happening. Thus, beauty is used to entice men to keep coming back. And also, again, if women are like the more beautiful ones of the species, it's the same way that animals will do stuff to, there's like, in a sexually dimorphic species, it's not both of them coming to each other, right? There's usually one part of the species that's more beautiful. And in a lot of ways, again, it's not like, if we all just stop wearing makeup, we'll all just be equal. That's not true. The fact of the matter is that some women have qualities that are seen as more beautiful, naturally more beautiful. It's a sort of a way to even, again, when we're talking about sexual strategy and things like that, people make up judgments at a split moment. And if a little bit of a beauty practice gives a woman of an edge to get a higher quality partner or a partner that she likes, that doesn't mean he's like a piece of shit because, all he cares about is, but that's just, again, when we're interacting with so many different people, sometimes you need to do things to stand out. We see this in every sexually dimorphic species. They do things to stand out against other partners. It's a sexual marketplace. So saying that women, again, who are just naturally less attractive, naturally don't have certain qualities that other women naturally have, but then they have like an artificial means to supplement for that. Okay, allow them. But again, if we're coming from a perspective that all heterosexual, interactions are bad, well, then you can see how there's almost like never an excuse for that. As if sex isn't important to heterosexual women, as if sex and partnership are just so, unimportant. And I also want to pose this to the lesbian separatists who say that, well, you just shouldn't be with men. And it's part of bringing up the whole class so that we don't feel other women aren't influenced to try to be with men. And I could repost this, I've literally seen women, even in this community, said that women should just enjoy friendships with other women and masturbate. That's their prescription for not being with a man. Focus on your friendships with women and masturbate. And my suggestion is, to all the other lesbian women who are suggesting this, or separatist women and political lesbian women who are suggesting this to heterosexual women, I was thinking about it. I think as part of like class, solidarity, all women should give up all sex, because it's like, if lesbian women are having sex with other women, it might accidentally, encourage women to want to be sexual too. And then, God forbid, a heterosexual woman accidentally breaks down and sees this influence, but then pursues who she's sexually attracted to, and it's a man. That could be horrible. So I think to protect all women and make sure that we never self-objectify and that we are never ever sex objects, because again, we should do two things. One, we should develop pathogenesis, or however you pronounce it, pathogenesis, where we asexually reproduce using bone marrow. Then we never have to touch each other. Then we can literally like never touch, and we can only interact through a computer. Make sure we'll eradicate sex altogether. We'll eradicate men altogether. Then no one will ever have sex, and everyone can finally be free and happy. Because again, sexually self-objectification, sex in itself makes you an object, because you have a material body that you have to use for sex, and then you become a sexual object, and that's all bad. Maybe we could have you guys ever seen, what is it, Demolition Man, where they had sex by putting in putting on headphones and doing what was it, the virtual reality? We'll have virtual reality. We'll just never touch each other. I just think that would be like a utopia. Ah, man, can't wait till we get there. So exciting. All right. But back to the banality of reality in the meantime, until we can finally get there. Let's see. All right. So similarly, in pair bonding, for the first 18 to 24 months, once a couple has begun to mutually bond, there is a honeymoon period in which both the man and the woman become insatiably in love with each other. Anybody who's ever been in love with anybody knows this. In the beginning of the relationship, you're having like a shitload of sex. You want to just wrap yourself in that person. You want to be like a sushi roll and just wrap yourself in them. And it's like, that's all you can think about. And the reason for this is because both sides, again, when everything is going well and both parts of the whole or both mates are mutually bonding, they are both being flooded with just rush of bonding hormones. Again, it lasts for 18 to 24 months, including oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, and more. This is for the expressed purpose to keep the couple connected while they begin to lay roots within each other's lives and together as a couple. This is why couples during this time begin to forget about the world, and unfortunately sometimes other relationships forget about the world, and they have nonstop sex. They want to just be totally wrapped in each other. And the reason for this, again, from an evolutionary psychology level, the reason for this, the idea is that once the hormonal priming of bonding eventually tapers off, which it does eventually, there is enough mutual investment, shared experiences, memories, shared interests, things built during that time that will keep them wanting to continue to build it and progress as a bonded pair. There will have been enough experiences that were motivated by that early bonding chemicals that will keep them together as a pair. And as fun as it was to be in that honeymoon state, the reality is that it's not very productive to just live in that state forever. So after the hormones wear off, the couple then is afforded time to build together, to accomplish goals together, create a life together, pursue mutual interests without being so wrapped up in sex and romance and everything else. And this is also around the time where all of a sudden you start to see like the problems with the other person. It's like the rose-colored glasses come off. And it's usually a time where you decide whether or not you really want to like go to the next level. It's usually where you guys start to have the what are we conversation. You know, where now you have to assess, you start to actually have a more realistic, this is why you never want to get pregnant during that time. You never want to get married during that time. Enjoy it. Learn as much as you can about that person. As it wears off, take a really good look at that person and then decide, where are we going? Do we want to continue? Do we want to split? You know, everybody's going to have flaws, and you're going to notice any person you're with, you're going to start to notice their flaws. And it's not always a bad thing. It's just, are they flaws that are okay, that you can live with? They're flaws that you want to and willing to accept, that are worth accepting. Sex serves now, so even after this honeymoon wears off, and that shouldn't be a depressing thing, because sex serves as this beautiful way to revisit that honeymoon experience every once in a while and whenever you have it. Because during sex, all of those beautiful chemicals that flooded your system during that initial honeymoon phase return for a while, and in the same ways that they did before. And this is why it is so important that men understand how to adequately pleasure their woman, because male orgasm is so much simpler and more mechanical than female orgasms. And if you want to maintain a healthy relationship, again, simple penetration is usually all men need. But women need a lot more like touching, caressing, like just a lot more, ephemeral sort of tactile feeling sort of stuff during sex. And if you want, and again, it's so important that during sex, both people have that revisit of bonding hormones that happen during an orgasm. Orgasms are like a rebonding. It's like that honeymoon period put together all in one blow, just to like, it was like a reset to like, strengthen the bond. It's like that, but it's like adding a little more glue, and if you revisit that every, now and again, that can be really helpful, and it's a way to de-stress. It has natural antidepressants, a lot of shit like that. So what did I say? Yeah, I said this is why it's so important that males know how to adequately pleasure their female partner and find what pleases their female partner and help her achieve orgasm, because orgasmic bonding is so important to is such an important natural rebonding mechanism, as well as an antidepressant, stress reliever, and health booster, and more. But we'll do more of that another time. Similarly, another theory that is pretty well accepted is that babies are so cute because they are so annoying. That if babies weren't as cute as they were, that most people would like yeet them out of here, be like, yo, fuck out of here. Because they're so annoying and they require so much effort. And they're so fucking annoying. I cannot stress how annoying they are. I'm just kidding. Similarly, their theory is that babies are so cute because they require so much effort and that they could not survive without some additional layer of motivation on the part of the caretaker to want to care for them. And that the pheromones of bonding, breastfeeding, and yes, them being cute protect them from being either abandoned or even harmed because of how fucking annoying and needy they are. This is true for the young of other animal species as well. Other animal species view their young as cute. Because they're cute. But that's a survival thing. That's not by accident. And I believe the order is that the mother is hardwired to be diligent by her baby and the man is hardwired to be diligent by his child's mother. So it actually does not make sense that the woman would ever serve a man. I believe in nature, it is the other way around. The woman serves the child and the man serves the child by serving the child's mother. The man, I believe, his natural place is to serve the woman. That is a man's natural place. That is his birthright, is to serve a woman. And thus, it is the basic anchor for a family, which evolves into many different shapes. Finally, there's sexual dimorphism. Femininity in the lens of radical feminism has been a crucial starting point for feminist analysis, and it is so essential that we review our practices, assumptions, rituals, unconscious biases, anxieties, goals, responses to cultural expectations, and more. Since the inception of radical feminist theory, radical feminism has focused on femininity as a performance in response to the male gaze. It posits that women as a class have received a steady diet of cultural messaging that dictates behaviors and expectations for female behavior and appearance, not just across one's own lifetime, but intergenerationally. That our mothers were given this information, and our mothers' mothers were given this information, and they help unconsciously instill them into us, thus lending to how deeply embedded certain aspects of feminine performance are in our cultural and personal psyche. However, I don't believe the patriarchy created these things. I believe that patriarchy hijacked it, took a pre-existing behavior and a pre-existing structure that originated in women, and that once women started making money and once women started having things and capitalism and consumerism and even men saw that they could use that against us to exploit us, that's what happened. I do believe that there is femininity that has been imposed onto women, like a man's vision of femininity. Again, it's like the spiked heels and like the tits up to here and the bleach blonde hair and like all this like real like almost cartoonish, just where like the complete focus is on like the tits, the ass, and like maybe the legs, and then like fat dick sucking lips and stuff like that. You can always tell which is like a male imposed sexual performance of femininity. Okay, but I don't think that beautification, beauty rituals, I think it's all part of the courtship, and it creates this sort of like sense of mystification around the woman that is, again, it's all part of the sexual strategy of being a sexually dimorphic species. I believe that it originated with us, and I just believe it was hijacked and then used against us and weaponized against us. Belle Antoinette says, aka how TRACS. Exactly. And for those who are wondering why I'm talking about beauty on a channel that is primarily geared towards, gender critical content and trans content, it is so important that we understand femininity, understand beauty practices, how and why they evolved, and then also that they are not women themselves. Because a lot of these things, because some of these things can actually be done by other people, that it's like, oh, well, then it's people who can do them. Well, I guess they're women too. No. We are not femininity. Femininity is just, again, it's an expression of something that, again, that we do. It's about sexual messaging, sexual signaling, letting, again, to say that like, I had this conversation with Nevlin. We were talking about it. She was like, as a lesbian, when I, look at other lesbians, there's certain things that we do that are sexually signaling, a woman who's butch, to me, I believe should be signaling that she's, a dominant partner. She was like, I get frustrated because it seems like things that should be a sexually signaling for one thing can end up being something else. She goes, I get frustrated when I see like a masculine butch, for example, who's then like a pillow princess. She goes, it just seems like a lot of that stuff typically is sexual signaling of, what you're looking for in a partner, what you have, who you are, if you're going to be the dominant partner and whatever. Again, like effeminate gay men, it's a sexual signaling of that they would be the submissive partner and vice versa. So obviously that can be mix and match. Obviously there are, masculine women or women who are, but then who are like a submissive heterosexual partner. But again, it's how you want to use that messaging. All right, let's see. I gotta hurry up because I gotta leave. All right, another thing I said, and I gotta finish writing this out, but I said people develop their first impression of someone within 27 seconds. Again, if we're all competing and again, that's even another thing. We are all competing in a sexual market, but that was also weaponized against us. I think that there was a natural competition that happens when you're trying to, get like the right man for you. And it's like they decided to use that and weaponize it and then like hyperinflate it. So it's like to the point where they literally want us to prioritize partner selection over any of our other goals, which is like, community building with other women. It's like, oh no, they're all your competition. Yeah, you don't want to, they are all jealous of you. They're going to take your boyfriend. They're all scamming on you. And they use that to isolate us because when we're isolated, we're much more controllable. One of the hardest things to control is a woman who is well embedded within a female social structure. That is one of the most well-protected women. A woman who is like layers deep with women around her, with a family system around her, laterally with women her age, friends, things like that. That is a hard woman to control. One way you could pick that apart is when you start to embed this anxiety in her that all these other women are her competition, and if you want to keep your man, you got to cut these women out, all that sort of stuff. I do think that sexual competition, it is not so much about cutting out and hating other women, but it's like, well, how can I emphasize what I have? How can I emphasize my own beauty? How can I emphasize things that might catch somebody's eye? Right? It's not meant to be forever. It's just a part of the initial strategy. And it's just like I said in the earlier thing, it's like during that honeymoon period where nature basically drugs the shit out of us with all these bonding hormones. But it doesn't do it forever because it says hopefully through that just gave us the little kickstart that we needed to start building experiences and memories and things together. It's the same thing with makeup. Yeah, maybe it's an initial hook, but after you've built experiences and time and done things that build, your love and respect for each other, you can start to move away from it. It's not necessary really anymore. Because the love now should have gone to a deeper level. If you still need to perform all this femininity for your boyfriend and you're terrified to let him see your real face and you're terrified for all this stuff you feel like you need to keep up, and if you feel like you're still in sexual competition with other women, that's a man who's living in a state of just like never wanting to go deeper, never wanting to accomplish more. That's a toxic thing. Either that's an insecurity within you that's unfounded and you need to really like resolve and heal that, or it's true, he really is on that type time, and you need to realize that this is a partner who is going to drain you of your psychic energy, of your just life force. And you need to cut that quick because it's going to explode at some point or implode at some point, and you might as well cut it now. Again, it's just about the initial, like when you're in that phase of just, partner selection and stuff. Like my boyfriend, again, like when I was first going out with him, like I would be all excited and want to get dressed up and I wanted him to like me because I liked him. But now we've been through enough stuff. He sees me taking a shit. Like, I see me in like in gross situations, and it's okay. It doesn't matter. Because he has love and he's attracted to me, and he's already had enough reinforcing experiences with me to remember how sexually turned on he is by me, to remember how good it feels to be with me, how good it feels to just be held by me, how good I smell, how loving I've been, how much we've done for each other, how much we've accomplished together, how many things we've overcome together, times that I stood by him and I held his hand through incredibly painful things with his family, or him supporting me through cancer, loving me through cancer, loving me through menopause. We've had enough sexual experiences together to know that, again, it gets deeper. We can't recreate the sort of sexual connection that we have now ever again, honestly, with any other shallow partner. That's just not something that you can just hook up with somebody one night and achieve. What we can have together on a sexual basis, him and I, is from, years of exploring with each other, of learning about each other's bodies, of staying up late for hours talking, sharing, being with each other, learning about each other, just indulging in each other. So yeah, he sees other women who are more beautiful than me, but why the fuck would he risk losing me? Right? Vice versa. I might see men that but that shit doesn't even tag me anymore. And I don't even notice it tags him. Because again, there's so much more of just something that we've cultivated that goes so much beyond that. So the superficial stuff is always going to be at the earlier levels because that's all that you really have. But once you start digging deeper and once you start really laying roots into each other, then you can start to let go of the more superficial bullshit layers of stuff. Let me see. Okay, so again, I gotta hurry up with this. Like it or not, judgments based on facial appearance play a powerful role in how we are treated. Attractive people have better outcomes in virtually all walks of life, both male and female. And again, this isn't about making yourself super self-conscious, right? I'm not the prettiest person. Look at me, okay? I'm really not. And that's okay. But I carry myself like I am. I really like myself. I think I'm a beautiful person. But if I really objectively look at myself, I'm really not the most attractive person in the world. Not as the way that I really carry it like I am. But that doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. So much of it is just how you carry yourself. And even if I was, I got fucked up and started getting ugly, it's cool because I have an intelligence and a personality that can carry me. Right? You diversify what your strengths are. You don't put it all into your appearance. You don't put it all, just diversify. I like who I am, I like who I am with or without, even when I'm being ugly. You gotta realize that, yeah, beauty can be a strategy, but it's not who you are. It's not I am ugly, I'm being ugly. I am beautiful. I'm being beautiful. Because again, it's we're not what we look like. We're really not. We're really, really not. But again, physical appearance can actually signal certain things because facial symmetry can actually signal health. Facial asymmetry can signal prenatal illness, a fetus that had been sick during development or had been exposed to certain diseases or viruses during development. And unfortunately, when we're choosing a partner, we're not just choosing a personality, but we're also choosing genetics. We're choosing, you want high quality genetics. It is what it is. People with mature faces statistically receive more severe judicial outcomes than people with baby faces. Having a face that looks competent can actually impact whether or not you are elected to office, and it usually does impact it positively. One interesting thing that researchers have noted is that as women increase in social and economic status, the more likely they are to engage in beauty rituals. And my theory for that is based on sexual dimorphism. And let me explain. Based on historical and sociological evidence that is, the desire for dimorphism. In a sexually dimorphic species, we use visual cues to parse through potential mates. And as a woman becomes more socially equal to men, we need more different kinds of cues to differentiate, male and female. And again, it's part of just, it's through the sexual strategy. Human beings actually have relatively few physical differences between males and females when compared to other species. Other species, if you look at like betta fish, the male is so clearly different than the female. You can easily, overall, humans have relatively few sexually dimorphic differences. And by conforming to one gendered style over another, men and women are just signaling that they're different from each other. And it's again, and it feels good to feel, again, if this is, and I'm only talking about like in heteronormative dynamics, but it feels good to feel feminine in connection, to masculine person. And a lot of this just has to do with reproduction and sexual attraction. But it's also about balancing how much import we put on it. Hence why men in our culture wear short hair to signal that they're men. It's just a quick way to identify, and women wear long hair. The length of hair is arbitrary, but it creates a greater sense of sexual dimorphism that increases sexual desire for a partner. And also, again, it's kind of a good thing that women are having to find other ways to differentiate themselves, because we're becoming too similar in our ability to make money. We're becoming too similar in our ability to hold office or to have status in society. That's kind of a good thing. It kind of signals, hey, guess what? We kind of made it as equals in a lot of ways, that now we're actually just trying to come up with any way to differentiate ourselves and say, hey, we're still different, and that's interesting and whatever, and that's cool. Hence why tall men are preferred and smaller women are preferred, because again, it's about in relational. You want to feel masculine in relation to whichever your partner is, and vice versa. And again, I'm talking about just totally heteronormative, just which accounts for a lot of people. I feel like we end up tailoring so much of our discourse around these sort of, smaller populations, and that's so important. But we also need to continue to have discourse around like the main bell curve. And I think as we break down these critiques, it is important to look at whether or not it is harmful and to weigh the impacts of the practices. Part of my interpretation is that this, in general, again, is classic capitalist consumerism. It's just using something that we do against us and weaponizing it and making it into something a lot more kind of sinister than what it started out to be. Because again, the first evidence of makeup that we've ever found was back in ancient Egyptians, and both men and women wore makeup and adorn themselves in ornate things. Creating a need that did not previously exist is something that consumerist capitalism does. However, we need to be nuanced in our approach, because makeup and self-adornment did not begin with consumerism, rather it was hijacked by it. And it is, for all intents and purposes, for what we've seen from anthropologists and sociologists, that it has been a part of human civilization since damn near the beginning of time. It is literally wired in us. So for me, oppression is very much a state of mind. When I wear makeup, I'm not oppressed. I can wear makeup or not. I like who I am, and I know that who I am is not wrapped up in my appearance. I haven't bought makeup in like 2 years. I still have the same little set of whatever. If I should buy healthier makeup, fine. Stop wearing makeup, fine. I don't give a fuck, because I have a boyfriend and he's fucking sexy and he's not going anywhere. So I'm really cool either way. But it is important. But at the same time, while I might be mentally liberated in that way, my daughters are still developing, and I want to be very cautious about the messages that I send to them. I don't want them to feel like they have this reflexive, obsessive, compulsive need to put on their face, and that they can't bear to look at themselves without it, and they feel this deep crippling self-esteem, and they're internalizing all these messages that are so evil and painful. Finally, if you consider that women should take and again, I gotta go. But again, it is important to note that even Naomi Wolf, the author of The Beauty Myth, that so much of feminist makeup critique is centered around, wears makeup to this very day. Still. So, it's about nuance. And if you are using makeup critical feminism to alienate, to disparage, to sexually degrade, to reject, to isolate, to minimize, to ignore, to harass, to condemn other women, you are not doing it to help or liberate women. You are doing it as a way to signal who's on the in group and who is the out group. You are using makeup critical feminism as a form of social signaling the in group versus the out group, so you could easily identify who the true real feminists are, and that gives in your mind a certain status. You're fraudulent, you're full of shit, you don't care about women, you need to really reevaluate what the fuck you're doing here. I'm out. I love you guys. Makeup critical feminism is so important. We should keep having these conversations. We really need to. It's important. Love you.